The name of the show is The Way to Go. My name is Alan Bendich. I'm going to be your host. I liked the guest we had last week so much, I asked him to come back and do another show. So it's Mr. Frank Pesce. He's an entrepreneur, and he's much more than that.
Thank you,
Even though it's entrepreneur is something to aspire to, because
I think so.
That's it.
I think so. Thank you for having me back.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
I had a great time with you on the last show.
Right.
I always have a good time talking with you. But, you know, one of the things that I was talking about recently with my family, you know, like my father. I'll take my father, for instance.
Yes.
My father worked for Time Warner Cable, local 3 guy for 38 years.
Wow.
Retired, you know, living life, you know, doing the right thing. And what I realized at like 17, 18 years old is like, man, in 38 years, I don't know that that corporate bond is going to exist. I don't know if that same opportunity will be there for me.
Right.
You understand? So that kind of inspired in me, along with other things that we talked about in the last show, right, to be self-sufficient in many ways by getting into business and being an entrepreneur and writing my own check.
Right.
And I also believe that life should be lived in seasons also. Right. Like, I couldn't imagine myself clocking in every day, you know, at 7 o'clock and leaving at 5 o'clock every day for 38 years.
Right.
To me, you know, I want to say, well, for 5 years, you know, we did this, and then for the next 10 years, we built an incredible business, and we moved on from there, and we started to do work in this space. Like, I think that life, at least in my eyes, should be lived in a way where you can tell a compelling and interesting story to the next generation.
And it sounds like a wonderful story. And the best part of the story for me, as you know, learning a little bit more about you, is that you're not doing it alone. You're doing it with people who you love. And to be able to work with someone and to be married to someone and to raise a family with someone and still enjoy being together and going from one adventure to the other, it's like a dream come true. It is a dream come true.
Alan, I got married at 20 years old.
Wow.
Okay. My mother asked me if I was crazy. All right. This is like, you know, we're married 12 years together, 13 years now. Right. And, but I knew, I just knew, like, you know, when you know. And I said, this is the kind of girl that I want. This is the vision that I have for a family and a future, and I don't want to miss the opportunity. Right. You know, I saw the movie The Bronx Tale when I was a kid, and Sonny tells Cologian, he goes, all right, you only get 2 great ones. I said, all right, I'm not waiting for the second one. I'll take the first one.
What a great movie that was.
It was a great movie, absolutely. And that's kind of like where my father grew up, at Arthur Avenue and all that. My family owned a couple of stores in Arthur Avenue, Capri Universal, which was a gift shop, record shop, furniture store.
Your dad is about my age, right?
62, yeah.
Right, so I'm sure, you know, our paths might have crossed.
Of course.
It's crazy,
course.
You know, because, and those days when your dad was young and I was young, the Bronx was a much different place, and it was pretty crazy back in the 70s.
Oh,
and 80s.
I bet.
It was nuts.
My father told me about the blackout that happened, I want to say like 79.
I remember that.
He was in Arthur Avenue at the time. He said everybody put white armbands on, was outside their stores with baseball bats and shotguns.
I was living in Yonkers at the time, but I remember it was pretty freaky. That was
I bet. But on the flip side, on a more positive note, the blackout that we had in like 2005, remember that one?
Yes.
Yo, everybody was helping each other. You know, people were in the street directing traffic. People were helping old ladies get into, you know.
But Arthur Avenue always was a place where very little crime.
Yeah, no, that was my point about the baseball bats and, you know, being outside the stores.
But it was always that way. And you know, I hope it continues. It's good. I mean, because that area is surrounded by crime. It has always been historically.
Yeah. But you know what? I will tell you what. You know, and I've been to Italy.
Right.
There's better food in Arthur Avenue than there is in Italy. You know, it's good stuff, and I hope that remains. You know, I hope that remnant will always be there.
Well, it probably will. I mean, I have a feeling that there's so many generations that's already lived on Arthur Avenue, and it's like Little Italy in the Bronx. You know, I mean, it's crazy. So, what dreams do I know we talked about it again, but to me, it's like right now you're on top of your game, right? I mean, you're living life. You have a wonderful family. Can things get better? That's the question. I mean,
things can always get better because you want to see people around you grow also,
right?
And you want to grow from each other. You know, we talked about it earlier. You know, teamwork, working together. And I'm fortunate enough to have great people in my life that you know, like I can look at them and see myself. They can look at me and maybe see themselves. Right. I allow them to speak into my life and vice versa. And by doing that, we grow together and we get to achieve, you know, mutual visions that we have. Now you know that I'm in business, and it's my vision to build a business and to create something that's sustainable. Right. But I can tell you, you know, at some point, you know, I'll go away from this avenue and go to something else. Right. And I think before, you know, it's all said and done, Alan, before I check out, you know, I want to give back in a big way. You know, my heart really goes out when I hear about like children who are abused or hurt. You know, I see that as just like unacceptable. And, you know, at some point I'd like to either be involved with an organization or you know, finance an organization or to create an organization myself that, you know, will provide security and safety for people that are in that kind of situation.
Well, it seems like, you know, you're heading in. I know people who are philanthropic because I work in the not-for-profit area. And a lot of them are entrepreneurs like yourself because they're the people that actually earn money and, you know, create.
It's the resources, yeah.
They create things because they're driven to do so. So I have no doubt that that will be at some point down the line that you're going to do. What dreams do you have for your kids? I mean, I'm just wondering. I mean, even though, you know, I had dreams for my kids, they still went in their own direction. But still, you know, I looked at my kids when I was younger, and I saw the way the world is and all this stuff, and hoping that, you know, I had my own hopes and dreams.
Well, you know, I see my kids as beautiful, beautiful kids.
Right.
First of all, I see a big heart inside of them. I see a desire to conquer, and not conquer, but like to achieve and to travel and to be adventurous. And I believe that they will travel, they will see the world, they will create, they will understand systems, they will bring benefit to relationships that they're engaged in. People, I think, will value them for, you know, their input in their lives, just like, you know, I value other people who have spoken into my lives. And obviously, I hope they get married and have children, and you know, I can have grandchildren and all that stuff. But in terms of like forcing them to, you know, into a particular career choice or anything like that, I don't think so. I mean, my family came here in the 1920s. We're not like, you know, deeply, deeply rooted into like some family business where we make like, you know, soles of shoes or something like that.
Right.
You know, so, you know, it's what they want to do, and I'll support them. I'll be behind them, and at the end of the day, I know I'll be proud of them.
So what do your parents think of your kids? I mean,
They love them, you know.
I mean, it must be great.
Listen, my 4-year-old, we call him the Bambino, okay? Because he's our baby. We're not going to have any more children. You know, at least we don't plan on having any more children. But he's like 4.5. He's like a big boy. He's like this tall, you know. But we call him, we go, where's the Bambino? He goes, I'm the Bambino. And we like hold him and treat him like a baby. And he's so beautiful. And every day he draws me pictures and like interesting stuff. Like, you know, he won an award at the school, most artistic. And the teacher said, if you tell him to draw a fish, he'll draw you an entire aquarium, and he'll name every species that's in there.
So that's it. It sounds like he has a drive as well as art. But it's wonderful. That whole artistic aspect is so wonderful. I see it in my kids as well. It's you look at it. It's amazing, right? I mean, when you see a kid grow up and.
Do you remember when your imagination used to work like that?
Oh my God.
Do you remember?
Oh, absolutely. I ran into a friend today, a matter of fact. My best friend's brother, actually, I ran into when I was 5 years old. He was my best friend, and now this guy's retiring. He's going to be 64. It was his older brother I ran into. And he and I used to play Superman all the time, you know, and you know, we used to play all kinds of, like, and we were Superman, you know, when we were 5 years old. So I do remember. I just wish I could capture that feeling again.
Yeah, I know. Well, maybe you will. Maybe when you're retired. And it seems like my father's done that. Like, you know, he's relaxing. He's chilling.
Yeah, life is good, right?
It is good. It is good. You know, for all the things that are bad, it's more good than bad, right?
Yeah, well, that's true. But do you have any fears about the way the world is going, you know, for your kids and stuff like that?
I mean, yeah, deep down inside, I mean, I think that the world's a volatile place.
Right.
I'm not sure if it's any different now than it has been throughout history. You know what I mean? I think now we have access to information. A lot more information is available to us.
Right.
You know, listen. You know, I want to see people get along. I want to see people work together. You know, there's no time to hate people. Like, you know, what is that? Why do people hate people?
But when you grew up, I mean, but you're still a young guy. But when I grew up, there was no internet or anything like that. Now it's like everything that happens becomes like is like. Everyone sees, you know, it's like Facebook, all this stuff. I mean, and that's your life, right? I mean, because you're a young man. I mean, that's.
So yeah, it's a big part of what we do. Right. I don't depend on it.
Right.
What I depend on is the work that's in front of me, doing it better than anybody else.
Are your kids very much into it?
They're into, like, you know, making videos and Minecraft, and which is a huge company, by the way, Minecraft. You wouldn't believe it. They're into that. They're artistic in that way, where they want to be a voice. They want to project. They want to be seen. Right. They want to interface with other people you know, who may be on the other side of the country or maybe their friend from school, whatever, but they want to do it through that interface of the platform of the computer.
Right.
You know,
And
I
think-
grew up, Alan,
yes.
with AOL and
Right.
the dial-up connection.
I remember that. I remember I grew up
7
earlier.
steps of the AOL.
Yeah, 56K
Right,
modems,
right, yeah.
It was crazy back then, but it was unbelievable, all right? I mean, and I grew up with, you know, rotary telephones.
I remember those. I remember those. Listen, I much preferred to be outside when I was a kid.
Oh, I had so much
like
fun
we were
outside.
outside all day. My mother would like kick us out. I'm like,
Do your kids go outside and play?
I make them go outside
Okay,
and play.
good.
You know, they'd rather not.
Right.
But you know, I'm like, no, you're going outside to get fresh air.
Right, because it's different. It's definitely a different world. That thing's changed. I mean, and the other thing is, I've been watching things on. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure where I was watching it, but they talk about how people at Facebook and all these other social media sites, all they do is try to figure out a way to keep you staring at that phone.
Of course, they can pump content into you.
Right.
You know what I mean, and ultimately monetize you.
Right. So to me, it's like, how could you fight it? It's so strong, you know.
I mean, think about your cell phone. How much time you're on your cell phone?
Right. That's true.
It's bad. It's really bad.
And my job, you know, I'm always in front of a computer. You know, I don't use the only time I do it is when I'm signing checks. I use a pen, you know. I don't do anything with pens anymore. And it's
You know where I
crazy.
get my news, Alan? I get my news by looking at the markets. You know, the economic markets.
Right.
You know, I had worked on Wall Street for, you know, a couple of years or whatever, you know, had all the licenses. And I've always appreciated hearing people like Bill Gross speak or, you know, whoever, these big economists, because I think that the numbers don't lie. You know, I heard Bill Gross say a few years ago that we were going to be in a 10-year economic recession as it relates to commodities.
Right.
And he talked about how, you know, deflation in the commodity market was going to trickle down to affect everybody on the lowest levels who's actually producing the commodities. So the guy who's making sugar in South America is getting paid less now for that commodity, therefore his quality of life is now diminished. I mean, look at oil. Oil's been down for quite a while now, and a lot of people lost a lot of money. And I had money in oil, actually, personally, and I lost money in oil. But, you know, who knew? You know?
You know, yeah, it's always you know, what is it, the Monday morning quarterback, you know, whatever it is. It's difficult to know these things.
I will tell you this, though, in terms of being a businessman and being a little bit older and a little bit wiser, I am definitely waiting for the next correction in the market.
Oh, yeah, and then you're going to put all your money
Listen,
in.
I'm sitting in cash right now, and you know, when I say that, I mean I'm not in the market, you know, to a great extent. When that correction comes, I'm going in hard. You know, and
because the slope is always going up for the market over time. Over time, it goes up.
Listen, if you bought a share of the Dow in I want to say 1929, I think it was like $69. Today, where you're over 21,000 or whatever.
I know. But who knows, right?
Yeah, I mean, typically the market works in a 3-year cycle. Right. You have the expansion, you have the peak, you have the contraction, you have the trough. Same thing over and over again. We're in an 8-year market.
It's crazy.
So, I mean, if it's true that every action has an opposite and equal reaction, what could that mean?
Right, but at the same time, though, over time, you know, it's not that when it goes down, that's not the time to sell. Obviously, I mean that's the wrong time to sell. A lot of people make that mistake. That's the thing.
Yeah, the market never lost anybody anything. People pulled out at the wrong time.
Exactly.
You know, from that oil position that I just talked to you about, I lost money. I'm still holding that position today. This is years later. I am not selling that position. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
but you know, the other thing is, one thing I'm basically a mutual funds kind of guy, you know, and it's actually done well for me.
Yeah, that's 8% every year, you know, for the most part, if you're S&P.
That's it. We've been doing well, you know, and my question now at almost 62 years old is, you know, should I continue or just do this or do the scriptless shows or act, you know? And I also think about how tough it's going to be for the next generation, because I think because of the way, do you look at it as it's going to be tough for the next generation, or you don't think it will?
You know what? I think people are resilient. I think that as long as the free market exists, that there'll be
opportunities. Right. I agree with you.
If you get rid of that, then you're in trouble. And I hope it doesn't go that way, man. I really don't. You don't have to look far. You can look at Venezuela. You can look at, you know, other countries that are going through tremendous turmoil right now. Got to have a free market. Has to be opportunity for people.
I agree with you. I mean, but it, you know, there's just terrible things that are happening in the world that scare me and, you know, scare my kids. And
and I will tell you, everybody wants to be president now.
Right.
Like, you know, everybody's coming out of the woodwork.
If Trump could do it, right? That's
like, oh yeah, you know, Mark Zuckerberg saying he wants to be the next president.
Right.
You know, like, come on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is serious stuff we're talking about. We're talking about the next generation, and we can't take it lightly.
I'm scared about, the environment, all these things, I mean, Korea, all these things that are happening in the world.
Listen,
It's scary business.
I don't want any more wars.
Right.
Okay, I don't want any more.
I mean,
wars.
you were in the service. So you don't. I mean, the last person. I mean, my father was in the service too. The last thing he ever wants to see is a war.
Every day they're talking about new opportunities to attack Syria or to go to war in North Korea. Listen, that's a huge commitment.
Right.
And when we go to war on that scale,
Right.
it's going to be a global war because you're going to be dealing with Russia, China,
And who knows what they're going to be throwing around. So it's.
And keep in mind, North Korea is a client state of China, and Syria is a client state of Russia. Do we really want to send our children
That's the
to
thing.
go and fight this?
Right.
Like, we need to do this the right way. I'm not in the White House. I'm not a congressman. I don't have all the information that they have. I'm not a pacifist. But I just think that we need to be smart and understand that every action that we make has consequences, and we need to really weigh those out and to be smart about how we do it.
That's why it's important to have a strong leader.
Absolutely, absolutely.
A strong leader.
And listen, a lot of people don't like Trump. I don't have anything against him inherently. I think he did a great job in business. As a businessman, I believe in him. I think that he can get things done. But if he can't get anything done, nobody can get anything done, no matter what party they're from,
because
if other people don't work together.
Right. This
is not a one-man
divide.
job.
It's a great divide. I mean, there's no way to.
It's unfortunate because this is not a one-person job.
And it's split. The whole country split basically down the middle.
It sucks because you know what? You and I may have different political views, but I bet you we can go over to that coffee pot and have a conversation and be amicable.
Or at some other time, maybe a beer.
You know what I mean?
That's it.
But then when it comes to the topic of politics, people want to kill each other. It's like ridiculous. Where there's no unity, there's no vision.
Right. That's it. And we are the one thing. We're America. We're one country.
Exactly.
And it's like, it's so crazy. It's just. Anyway, I just hope that. I hope the next generation could get it right.
People were created for relationship.
Right.
People cannot survive alone.
Right.
If a baby is born in the hospital and the baby is not loved, doesn't have somebody there to care for him, the baby fails to thrive.
That's right.
People need relationship.
Right.
And I think at the core, no matter what views people have, that relationship could exist if you're just willing to,
well, my best
give
friend,
an opportunity.
My best friend and I are diametrically opposed politically.
I have friends like
but
that
I
too.
love him. I mean, I was the best man at his wedding. I'm the father, the godfather of his first daughter.
I hope that.
The godfather of his first daughter, But, in terms of politics, we don't even discuss it, because feelings transcend these things, these kind of thoughts.
Yeah, well, the media and, the internet and everything else tells you what you're supposed to believe.
Right.
When really, if you removed a lot of information, I bet you people's views would be different.
Right, and the other thing that's interesting is that some of the positions that the left wing has versus the right wing, they've switched. I mean,
that is a fact.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Absolute
Russia
fact.
is now on the Republicans. It used to be on the everything is like flipping around over here.
It is. That just shows you that people have purposed inside of themselves not to be agreeable.
Right.
Because there can be unity, obviously.
Right. It's ridiculous.
I remember when I think it was when Obama was running for the first term.
Right.
There were people on the streets, that were supporting Obama, and people on the streets that were supporting McCain, and they were stating the position of the opposing opponent.
Right.
Saying. So essentially, they were saying, we're here to rally for Barack Obama. These are his positions on Iraq and the things that were happening at the time. Do you support that? They're like, yeah, that sounds good to me.
Right.
But really, those were John McCain's views, and vice versa. The same thing on the other side.
But I don't think there was such vehemence between John
there
McCain
wasn't.
and Obama because but the way it was between Hillary and Trump. I mean, there's a certain
Things have become more volatile
That's what I'm
in the
talking
last
about.
8 years,
Right.
10 years.
I mean, McCain and Obama had a civility between the two of them. I mean, they were able to have different opinions, but yet they treated each other like human beings, I think.
I mean, listen, I'm kind of young, but you're a little bit older than me.
Yeah.
Think about how much America's changed post 9/11 in terms of a cultural standpoint.
Right. I remember that day.
How
very well.
people view things,
I just
perception,
remember
and how they get along.
Right. I was on 59th Street at the medical place
At Madison, right?
At
Yeah.
Madison Medical, and that was when 9/11 happened. And I just remember going on a bus and everyone was talking to each other. People who it was like
Everybody flew American flag on their car too. Remember that?
it was like people who you normally wouldn't even look at, because everyone on subways, they look forward on the buses, they never look
No
at
eye
people.
contact.
But everybody's talking, everybody, it was like one big family. And it's terrible that it takes a catastrophe like that for people to become human beings again. But,
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, but I mean, if you remember the '90s, at least I was young. You know what I mean?
I have some problem remembering the '90s. No, I do. I remember it.
I remember the '90s being awesome. You know.
Well, I got married in '91, so it's I remember the '90s, but it was different. If you talk about the '80s and the '70s and the '60s, that was pretty awesome for me.
Yeah. I was born in '84. So,
Right.
you know.
'84, I was in Hollywood, and that was great. Those were the days. But
I bet.
Yeah. But did you ever have Hollywood dreams at all?
You know, in school, I actually excelled at the acting and stuff like that.
Right.
You know, I was always like funny and able to improvise.
Right.
But I never pursued it at any level.
Right.
I guess I could talk to JT. You know, see
Oh,
what he
JT will
thinks.
always get you. He could get you something.
JT will give you some work, right?
Right. It's fun. It's
I appreciate forums. I appreciate being able to talk and being able to hear ideas and being able to create solutions and meeting with other people, have meetings of the minds. I like that stuff. I have no problem standing up in a pulpit and preaching or teaching on something.
Have you always been that way?
Yeah, I think so. You know, it's.
Does the fighting help a little bit, or is that just another way of
No, you know
expression?
what? You know what? Listen, I used to put up with a lot more in terms of an exchange of information, meaning I would give people more the benefit of the doubt, and I would go the extra mile before I started fighting. After I started fighting, I was like, you know what? Less BS, more goal oriented. Let's just get this done. But maybe that has to do with just maturing. I don't know. But now, rather than being on a phone call, at midnight, out of state, listen, we're going to get this done on my time and at a time that works for you mutually. We're going to accomplish something if we're going to have this phone call.
That comes with confidence. I mean, those kind of things, and obviously you're a confident person, and confidence is something I think that gets, you become more confident the more successful you are. So
you're able to choose your battles for sure,
Right.
And you know what your time is worth.
Right.
There was a time in my medical billing practice that, I would take on any doctor, any practice, and say, all right, we'll revitalize this, we'll make it work. Now, listen, if you're not a specific, revenue mark, I'm sorry.
There's like no insecurity in you at all, and that's it, and that's good.
I know what we do. We do a great job. I mean, we do everything we can with excellence.
And do you think you'll expect? Well, obviously, you said that you'll do this. You do things in stages in your life, right? I mean, at some point, maybe you'll have another challenge that you want to do.
Well, here's the thing. So a wise guy told me. When I say wise, I don't mean a mafia guy. I mean a wise man.
Right, I hear you.
Recently told me, he goes, Frank, if you want to know where you're going, just look at where you've been.
That is true. That is the truth.
It's so true. And I look back, and he said, Frank, you are on a trajectory.
No question.
You have momentum. You are locked into that path.
Right.
So just keep going forward.
That's it.
That was great advice.
Right.
That was great advice. I'll take that all day.
Right.
I really will. So with that, I look at where I've been.
Right.
I've looked at some of the challenges that I've overcome. I've looked at some of the relationships that were extremely fruitful and lifelong friends that I have today. And I looked at some of the other ones that I had high hopes for, and it didn't, turn out that way. And I think that creates, a measure of wisdom and discernment inside of us.
And you sound like my father again. And the two things he says. He says to be an optimist is the first thing, and the second thing is to be lucky. And when he means lucky, he's saying that good luck is easy. If you have good luck, then it's easy. You don't have nothing to worry about. But it's how you handle the bad luck.
Sure.
That is the thing that really is the most important. Like when he got shot. The whole thing is if you're lucky, and you know how to handle it, and you're optimistic, at least for him, that's helped him live to be 102 years old.
Sure. Well, I'll take that advice, right?
Yeah.
I will tell you some of and you probably say the same thing.
Right.
In my own life, some of the times when I was in a valley, so to speak, where I was at a low point,
I hear you.
When I came out of there, man, I appreciated that valley because I grew so much.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you, I'm going to be 62 next month. So I mean, I've been in. I think the longer you live, you almost experience everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
There's all kinds of stuff that happened in your life, and the idea that you're still there, and you're stronger now than you were then in certain ways. It does make you stronger, or you don't survive. Those are the two things that I think that's how it works.
Yeah. I have a lot of older friends in my life. I always value an elder, who has been there, done that. And sometimes you might think, I know a little bit. You'll say,
when I was your age, I thought I knew everything.
Right.
And there's
and,
no
and my kids think that too.
Right.
It's ridiculous. But that's good. It's confidence, I guess.
Right.
And I said something to this guy. He's like 53 years old. And I said, you did it wrong, you did it wrong. He goes, oh, gee, thanks. I don't know how I survived 53 years without you. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
You know?
But everyone, yeah.
But you got to respect that.
Right.
That people, you're 62, the things that you've seen, like,
yeah, but I've also,
value there.
I've made so many mistakes in my life.
That's okay.
You know.
You can sit here and tell me about that. Maybe I won't make the same one.
No, but everyone makes their own mistakes. The whole thing is, you know, no one can tell you not to make a mistake. You can tell you not, but you have to, you know, you have your own path. You're going to hit those mistakes yourself. I mean, people told me not to make mistakes, and I made every single one of them.
Hey, listen, we've all learned things the hard way, right?
But that's the only way you learn, I think. At least that's the only way I learned, was the hard way. Because, you know, unless there's a consequence associated with an action, it's very difficult to learn, unless you're really smart. If you're really smart and realize that you could, you know, foretell that consequence and not do it, then you're ahead of the game, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
But I was always a wise guy myself, and not in a good way. I was like a wise guy. So I don't know. Does your wife have any dreams?
My wife also. Well, we got married very young. Okay, and we had kids like right away. So we didn't really have a chance to travel and kind of do some of the, you know, get to know you stuff. We were kind of just thrown right into the fire, which is fine. So on the backside of what we finished doing here, we would like to move down to South Carolina.
Oh, that's nice.
There's a particular city that I like, that we travel there every year. We really like it. We really like the culture there, and you know, it's our vision to live there. We think we can build what we're building and make it happen.
That's wonderful. And the other thing is about having kids so young. When your kids are ready to go to college and start working, you're going to be young. I mean, my kids, I'm going to be 62 next month. My daughter's only 20. You're going to be like 40 or whatever.
Yeah,
you know? It's like what a dream that is. So you'll have.
Well, that's the thing too,
You'll
Alan.
have quality time.
You know, I kind of felt like, you know, I grew up with my kids because, you know, being a 21-year-old dad, you know, I made like a lot of mistakes, you know, and I can see like there's a little bit of a callousness to my older son compared to the other two, you know, because I think of maybe some of the mistakes that I made.
That's a trial. You know, he's a trial kid.
Yeah. Like a poor kid, you know. But thank God he's all right. They're all right.
Same thing with my son. I mean, like you make the mistakes usually more on the first kid than you do on the second.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you don't know what the hell you're doing. Even at 36, when I had my son, you know, who knew? You know.
36. Yeah, you had a kid. 36. Wow.
I think maybe it was older. Actually, it was 39. 39 was when I had my son.
Yeah. What did you do with your kids? What was like the main thing you guys did?
We spent time together we spent time with the family. That was the whole thing. It was a family-oriented thing. And we did school-related things. We went to the library a lot. We went to shows. We went to shows every weekend. I worked, though. I was always working, like, constantly.
Yeah.
And coming home late, so I was always, like, exhausted. My wife did everything, and she did it well. We were fortunate that she didn't have to work. And so she spent a lot of time, and we really appreciate it because we had kids later in life than, I mean, it's like a gift that, you know, that we didn't think we were going to have. And we were very fortunate to find each other later in life and to have two kids who, you know, we love dearly. So
that's all. How'd you meet her, your wife?
I met her at a singles weekend, if you can believe it. Yeah, she was on the dance floor. I had a tequila sunrise in me. She was dancing with someone about as tall as you. And I went up to her and I said, would you like to dance? And she said, I'm already dancing with someone. So I said, okay. And I took my tequila sunrise, and she tapped me on the shoulder, and she said, but definitely later.
Yes, nice.
And that was it. And then we were together ever since.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is so awesome.
And we're having a great time, and we're enjoying it. And we don't think it'll ever end, but unfortunately, everything ends, you know? And there's only really one thing left to say. That's a wrap. Good night, folks.